computer science student at UP Mindanao, and I daily drive Linux, so and I think I have a pretty bespoke configuration, and I'd like to share that with you guys. Yeah, I think I get a lot of work done efficiently, and I have, again, once again, this is a bespoke workflow. I've customized it to what is comfortable for me, and these are the main components that appear in it. First of all, yeah, Linux. I have a window manager, which is Hyperland. You don't need to know the specifics of that, but what it allows me to do is it allows me to efficiently use the spaces in my screen, um, because I don't really get stuff laid out on top of each other like how you would normally have in floating window managers. But that doesn't leave me out of like being able to do that. I can still set them to float, but most of the time they're not gonna be floating. So that's really cool. Yeah. And you can even change their arrangements per split. So it also has a lot of power-centric key mappings, and these key mappings you get to define them yourself. If we look here in my Hyperland configuration, I have some stuff here that I define myself, and I even wrote a script to show me these key bindings when I press Super Shift C, and these are the key bindings to remind me in case I forget. I don't really forget because I do them a lot. I just have them in the back of my mind. I do them a lot. So I have a bind for opening a terminal really quick because you'll find that I do a lot of stuff in it. And Wolfie is like a what do you call this, like Alfred or like Spotlight in Mac. And okay, so I also have, yeah, besides the cheat sheet, I can screenshot, that's of course. And then I can also easily terminate stuff in my screen. So like Windows Q, so it's gone, Windows Q. Or like super rather. And I also get a color picker from like anywhere in the screen. So let's say I wanted to get this red color here. I could just color pick it. And then if I paste, I have that color. It's really helpful, especially when I deal with front end stuff. So that's that. And yeah, the configuration is human friendly. Like again, if I go to my Hyperland config, you'll see that most of it syntax highlighted. That's in courtesy of Vim. And I believe, yeah, it would even have suggestions because I have an LSP for it. I'll go over what that means in a few moments. So I also have the shell, of course. Most of the stuff I do isn't gonna be in the shell, and these are the tools that are relevant to my workflow. So I use ZSH or Zish as my shell, and what that allows me to do is configure with my ZSHRC, and I prefer the syntax of this over Bash. It's cleaner, and it also has this append syntax or path, and it has like built-in highlighting and stuff and tab completion. I believe Bash also has tab completion, but I much prefer the implementation in Zish. And then for the prompt, I have Starship, and yeah. I don't remember if I wrote this prompt. I don't think I did. I think I copied somewhere in the internet. And then I have Z, or Zoxide, which is really cool because what it does is it lets you it's basically CD, but it remembers your directories that you've gone to, so you don't have to type the full path. Like example, if I wanted to go to my Rustlings folder, I just go see Rustlings, or I don't even have to complete it. It like fuzzy finds it, so I like go see Rusty, and look, I'm here already. And if I wanted to see where this actually is, I could PWD rather. Uh, that yeah. I cd'd into all of these directories with one command. And if I wanted to go back to where I was previously, before I did the zoxide command, I would just z minus and I'll be back there. So it's really fast. It allows me to like immediately get to projects from root and or like not root from home. And that's really cool. And yeah, the colored ls that's from EZA. Man EZA. Yeah, it's a replacement for ls. Yeah. It also has three. I don't remember if that was in ls, but I find that's also really good for graphing stuff. Wait, I'll go to my folder. Let's go to our JXX. And then if I do, I bound my EZA to ls. That's why I'm using the ls command. But I don't remember if it was -3. I think it was -3. Was it 3? Yeah, it was 3. So I could like display them in a tree, but I don't want to see these like artifacts. So I could also ignore those, but I don't remember the syntax right now. And I also have TLDR. I don't think I put it in my notes. I also have TLDR, which helps with like remembering the basic syntax for commands. And yeah, I could either look at the man page, the help, or the TLDR. More options is it's good. So that's how I do stuff. And of course, basic GNU Linux like binaries such as like the cd, awk, and then sed. That stuff you just pick up the more you use them. And my terminal, it's Skippy. I like it because it has a multiplexer. What that means is within the terminal itself, you can do splits. So I don't have to do that. Most importantly, you can do tabs. You'll find that a lot of workflows involve this, especially if like it involves like setting up a server. Like where am I? Oh, I have to go. It involves running up a server. You can do that with one tab, and then you go to the previous, and then you open new Vim there. So that's a workflow that I use. And it also has a terminal graphics protocol. So if I go to one of my Markdown files here, what's it? This one? I don't think it was this one. But terminal graphics protocol allows you to display like graphics inside your terminal, and that's really helpful for like stuff like this, like fast fetch, where just you can see images clearly without having to render them in ASCII. I should have, well, I mean, I should have had uh an image preview in my Neovim, but I think I messed up the config for that because I recently reset my config. So that. Then very tiny configuration. Once again, it has highlighting because of Neovim, but I'm not gonna go over that right now. So very easy. And the documentation is very nice. So you could check that out. Yeah, here's my font in case you were wondering. It's Agave, weird font mono. Also has this feature where, like you can check out the fonts here that you have, and also like themes. I believe it's themes. You can check out the themes here. Yeah, also default themes. That's really nice. I like themes. So that's it for what like Linux related stuff I have. For NeoVim, it's a terminal based text editor. This on the terminal allows me to fully immerse myself in the shell and very quick to get into, like bootupwise. Like if I wanted to code with something else like VS Code, I would have to open VS Code and then open my project, and that time spent would like eventually compound, and I don't really like thinking about that. So right now I could just immediately easy into my folder. So like if I again want to rest links, I could just immediately new them and I'm inside. And that's really fast and nice for me. And yeah. Next is has a lot of pretty cool key maps for general text editing. If I set up everything correctly, top right of my screen, there should be the keystrokes I've been pressing. So like I'm not gonna go over Vim motions in this video, but see, I can traverse with these. Speed, speed, speed. It's very important. And I can also have, I can also press space space and a sequence of two characters, and that would allow me to jump anywhere in the screen. So it's like, I believe that's from a plugin named Leap. So if I wanted to go to TO of the top right word, I could just do space space TO. Oh, I messed it up. Space space TO. I'm here. And then space space LU. And then S. I'm here in Lua. I'm jumping like pretty much where I want to go without moving to the mouse. So like CHS. I'm here. So minimum that would be like 5 keystrokes to get to here without like traversing manually. And I could also just like jump. Most of the time I do relative jumps and like that. And yeah, very fast. Very extensible, and it's configurable in Lua and VimScript, I guess. I don't really use VimScript. I don't know VimScript. The extent of VimScript I know is how to convert it into Lua. I believe that's the only amount of VimScript you need to know to actually configure in NeoVim comfortably. And it has a very rich ecosystem for plugins. Like if I go to my NVim folder here, that I have set it up such that each of the plugins have their own folder. And if we go to something like my status line, you'll see that this is the status line that's from a GitHub repo, and then my own configuration I put in based on their documentation, then my own Lua functions. What this one is doing is it's getting the last three folders of a directory, and then it's truncating the rest on the left side so that we end up with this prompt here on the bottom right. Because I don't want to display the entire path in the status line. And you can do that with Lua and the Vim API. Most of the time, you can do help with Vim stuff, and you could open the built-in help menu, and that's really good for stuff like if you wanted to check first for the functions in Vim FN, I could look through vim.fn and it would show me here. I could scroll Vim FN, yeah. Pretty much anything I need here, and it has links. So if I wanted to see here set minus equals, I could do control bracket and it would move me there. And if I wanted to go back, control O. So that's that. And also tabs in Neovim. Yeah, anyways. So it's really easy to configure. This entire thing I wrote myself from scratch. And then I have snippets here too. Then the plugins, this is my own config here. This one I copy pasted from like lazy because that's how you're supposed to do it. And key maps, I wrote these all. And file type overrides. Yep, fine. So it's really easy to configure. Well, I mean, it's easy for me now because I've like hacked around it myself. But it's really easy to pick up because it's Lua. And with enough time you spend around hopping around in the documentation, okay, it's very easy to think about it and how you want to do things. It's like if you want to do something, okay, it's very easy to reason about it with the code in the config, which is really nice to have, especially because NeoVim eventually becomes like your own side project essentially, and it's a very satisfying feeling to be working around the workload that you have like configured for yourself. And for development, of course, NeoVim as an IDE, it provides a lot of the stuff you would need from an IDE. Not that you actually need that much, but you're gonna get LSPs, which means language server protocols. And what these are essentially, if you use VS Code, this would be the extensions, language extensions you install. You'd get autocomplete. You'd get diagnostics for your specific languages. And then, of course, highlighting. Tree setter is the software it uses for highlighting, and really fast because it does the highlighting incrementally. That means if you do changes later on in your document, it doesn't have to rescan the initial parts of your document that you didn't change, and which makes it faster and much more efficient with its workload. The next is snippets. Snippets are really cool because, again, sorry if I keep moving around workspaces. Again, if we go here, you see that I define snippets for language extensions. So if we look at here in Python, I define a snippet. The the syntax is kind of confusing at first, but you get used to it. It's in the documentation of the plugin. But I define here a snippet main, and then the what it expands to, and then the fields that fill it in. So if I go to a Python file, if I do test.py and I type in main, it gives me that suggestion for my snippet. And then if I autocomplete it, it puts me in the position that I specified to go in the snippet. So I'm here. And it's interesting because it allows also for text nodes. So if I wanted to, I could go here in MD. I believe I have a call snippet. Yeah, not this one. CLL. You can have multiple of them, and then you can jump in between. Then we also get choice choice nodes. So if I could cycle through the existing choices I predefined, so like left, right, center, it's really fast to work with and it's nice. And the really important use case for snippets I'll cover in a bit, but it also has a debugger, and Copilot support exists. I don't really personally use it because I like thinking about my code, and I like that Copilot can contribute to the boilerplate, like right, not contribute to the boilerplate, but contribute possibly to writing boilerplate faster. But I don't like that it induces me to pause every now and then to wait for the Copilot completion. I don't like that. I like to code as fast as I can with like my brain. I like that the bottleneck for my code is my thought, not my writing, or like yeah, my writing and my conversion from thought to uh letters on the screen. And fast directory traversal. I can do this with most of the time with the shell. I could just go to the shell and traverse there, or I could search files in my project directory. So if I wanted to do exercises 05, I could search that and it would fuzzy find. Or I could open an oil buffer and I could traverse here with the standard Vim binds. Just like really cool. And like if I wanted to, I could also create files in here, just like that. I don't want to create it, then I delete. And then it allows also for copying, but I'm not gonna do that right now. Then it's usually paired with a terminal multiplexer. Um, the reason for that is, well, oh, I don't have the admin. 2024 day 10. Like example, if I was here in day 10 and I had a 8 by here, I will want to run this, right? But I can't. I could run it in UVM because it has a built-in terminal, but most of the time you're gonna want to do it from your own terminal. So I just open a split here and then I run the code here. That it does that, so it's much easier. And I can also change the layout, and I can also resize it. This isn't really gone. This isn't features of NeoVim, but this is how I work with it as again as an IDE. Mhm. Just realized I was pressing shorter, but shorter is for vertical. Okay. And then all of the other tooling I could need. So it's really good as an IDE. No, that's a shocker. That's not really a shocker, I mean. And I can also leverage stuff from my terminal itself by doing like special code Vim commands such as like Vim dot dot bang and then I do ls, I would get the directory like into my buffer immediately. Or I could do, if I wanted to find the path of my Python, I could go where is Python 3, then I would put it here. So I could work with that. Or yeah, there's so many combinations you could do with dot bang. Probably like date. You could also get date like that. But yeah, if it exists in the shell as a command, you can do it in NeoVim, which is really cool because it's just immediately a lot of extensibility and expression that you can do with commands. And next is LazyGit. I believe I'm familiar enough with Git to warrant a much more accessible interface. So yeah, I don't really do git add, git commit manually. I most of the time, besides the git init, not git init, yeah, git init. Besides git init, I usually do it with LazyGit now. So if I go to a project such as like again kitchi, if I do LazyGit or like I bound it to alias, I aliased it to LG, I would get this interface and it supports most Vim binds and it has key bindings thing, so it makes it so much easier to work with stuff. And not only that, it allows me to have a better understanding of how my actions are affecting the branch. So like rebasing, it has that. It has fast forward, new tags, and overall just a much more ergonomic get experience. And it's not you. And the issue usually with dealing with GUI Git or like GitHub desktop is that it kind of does slow down a bit of your workflow by having to go to a different a different window to do your commits and all. But that really doesn't exist with LazyGit. So if I were to go to front end and then I did some changes here, say some changes here with say page that, oh, I don't have a highlighting for spelt yet. I do now. See, that was easy to add. Okay, so if I were to change something here like hello world, and then maybe down here I add a div that says, oh, also not the auto pairs on. See, I'm discovering things that I want to add and while I'm presenting it. Okay, so I could add the div here, so that's cool. So if I write that and then I go LG, it shows me the changes. And then I could like immediately add the entire thing by using space, or I could go into it and then check the specific lines I want to add to my commit. That's much more annoying to do with the CLI, but I believe it's possible because I mean this is just a wrapper for that. Uh, and then I can just commit selectively, and it makes my commits not only faster to do, but much more isolated and descriptive. Because most of the time when I with the previous no workflow with like get add get commit, I end up working with a file for far too long before I end up doing a commit, and I just end up with a massive commit when you're supposed to spell it out the commits with changes, because that's how you use version control. Like major changes, not really major, but like changes that are relevant enough to warrant a checkpoint. That's when you commit. And usually you get in a state when you're coding that you don't really think about that. You just write as fast as you can. And the saves happen in hindsight, and that you can do that here with LazyGit, and it's really fast to work with, especially if you're already working with NeoVim. It also has a built-in NeoVim integration, but I much prefer going out and then going to LazyGit. I like the separation of concerns there. I could also have boom, I nuke the work tree. That's a animation. Cool. So it contributed a significant speed up and increase in quality to my Git workflow. I can do like yeah, line specific commits, then rebases. So that's how I use it for development. And now for notes and like most of the academic stuff, org mode. It's originally of Emacs fame. It's a markup language. This is what you're seeing right now is org mode. Emacs fame. It's a markup language, and it's actually the reason why I tried out Doom Emacs for a bit because I wanted to use org mode. But I don't know. I didn't really enjoy Emacs. I feel like I was already too intimate with my configuration for NeoVim, and I didn't really see a good enough reason besides org mode to try out Emacs. So I checked for a NeoVim port, and there is one, and it is a bit buggy sometimes, but it's workable. I mean, this entire thing has been on org mode, and it allows for Zettelkasten, which is, you probably heard this if you look up productivity shit in online. So it's a way of note taking wherein you separate ideas based on the atomic level, and that's good because instead of having to write up notes and then compiling everything into this one god note, you can separate them and then link them. uh, org allows this using this extension called orgrom, where your notes get stored in a database and then they get linked together by ID. So you could interface with these links using orgrom, and also it has a neat API for their database. So you could query it like outside of the context of orgrom if you needed that. I haven't used that, but I know it exists because it's in the documentation. In Emacs, it's implemented with SQLite, but in the NeoVim port, they do a Lua implementation of the DB. So it's just a JSON in your NeoVim files. And I don't really see a I don't really see the negative impact in the performance yet because I don't have that many notes yet. But I think it's good. I think it's a good idea to cut down on the dependencies. So I don't really have a problem with the Lua implementation. And in fact, I find it easier to query in Lua because it's the same language as the rest of the configuration. And it allows for capturing notes whenever and then adding them into your Zettelkasten. So an example of that was, I'm currently studying Rust by doing Rust links, which is an exercise based Rust thing. So I could I could open up a I could search up my notes using space NF, and then it has here my notes that I've currently taken. I could go to Rust immediately from that, and then here are my org notes for Rust. I could cycle. I could see Rust here, and then my notes. I open them, tab, and then let's see if I wanted to know something about structs. I could search up structs, opens it up, and then this is the link. Yeah, you can link within your code. So I could do OO here, and it goes to the structs, the page. And then you could tab here. Then you can do code blocks, which is good. Then you can also, I believe, open the code blocks in a separate buffer. So you get completion. Yeah, completion for Rust. So you can get the LSP for that language. And then when you quit out of that, it saves it to the buffer that you were editing. For example, I believe I need, go on here. I believe I need semicolons. Not exactly sure, but let's add it. This one, I don't think it needs a semicolon. So I save that, and then yeah, it gets updated here. So that's cool. That's cool. What else? Capture notes whenever. So let's say I'm in uh uh let's say I'm in one of these folders. I'm learning about lifetimes, and I didn't have the Rust notes yet. I could do space NF again, and I type in a new note, say lifetimes, and this would allow me to create a new note just from that. And when I save this, it would get added to my database, and I would be able to access it like the rest earlier. So, like from whenever, I could just create notes and then add them to the database, which is really cool and ergonomic, especially if you're as scatterbrained as me, and allows for that workflow. So yeah, Zettelkasten. Lastly is, oops, yeah, this is one of the bugs that I encounter usually with like regards to its folding. So I'm just gonna exit out of that and then go back. So here, LaTeX. So new Vim integration with Vimtex and Lua snippet. Oh, that's annoying. Vimtex and Lua snip. So Vimtex provides a workflow out of the box. This includes compiling, exporting, and cleaning artifacts. And then Lua snip allows for better writing experience with snippets. So if you've written LaTeX before, you'd know that it's very annoying to write because there's a lot of boilerplate you have to do. So this is my thesis. Well, the intro for it rather, and I can work with it through Vimtech. And if I do space L, it shows me a lot of the Vimtech binds, or I could type in the command if I don't remember the binds. Most of the time, the commands relevant commands would be space LL, which is compile in the continuous mode. So it opens a preview of the LaTeX file that you have. So then I open it in Zathura, which is a package in Linux for previewing or like opening PDF files, PDFs. Yeah, and I believe Vimbinds. Yeah, Vimbinds apply, and I like Vimbinds. Okay, so yeah, Vimbinds apply and Zathura. So J and then Control D, Control U. Okay, so and you know that if you compile stuff with LaTeX, you're gonna end up with a lot of artifacts. So after you do space LL, you could do space L C, and that would clean everything. So like if I do space F, it's not gonna be there anymore. Yeah. It also allows for bib files and sources. Yeah, and I can also even add notes here with like ordinal format. I forgot to add, but org also allows for exporting to different formats such as Markdown and PDF with Pandoc. So pretty much if the format is in Pandoc, then org is able to export to that. So most of the time it's gonna be PDF or Markdown. Lua snip. Oh, I forgot to preview Lua snip and I already closed it. So let's see how fast I can get back to that text. I mean, uh, for snippets, most of the time the stuff in my LSP allows to like just type it out, but sometimes it's not there. And what allows me to example like inline code like this one list inline LSD, yeah, like this one list inline. That's how you do. I mean, that's how for me. That's how I found how to do verbatim text such as like inline code. And you don't really get that in the LSP. You would have to type list inline and then the braces and then the content, and that's not ergonomic enough for me. So I ended up having to write a snippet for that, which is, oh my god, I forgot my snippet. That's funny. So let's check out my dash and snippets within text. It's IC. I thought it was ILC. So I can close this buffer with BD. If I type here in my text buffer, if I type in IC, it gives in that suggestion, so I can complete it, and then it's list inline, and immediately in insert mode. So it's really nice to work with. So currently only have inline code as my snippet, but you can see how that would allow for a much more bespoke config, especially if you're using LaTeX to take classes like notes in classes. You would need to write it much faster than normal, so you would have to create more snippets for your use cases, such as like creating subsections or sections. But they already have it here in the completion. So if it's not in the completion server, you can add the snippet for it, and it's just really customizable and nice. So why LaTeX? It looked cool. That's really the main reason. It looks cool, and it has syntax for math and code, which my thesis does work a lot with. So yeah, I believe that's all that I wanted to cover. So That's my workflow. I use Linux, NeoVim, then org mode and latex inside of NeoVim. Thank you.